Here is the full script, followed by the sources and image prompts blocks. What if the single most powerful upgrade you can make to your mitochondria, the tiny engines that literally run your body, cost you nothing, took less than 3 minutes a day, and worked precisely because it briefly made you miserable? Stay with me, because the science behind what researchers are now calling mitohormesis is rewriting everything we thought we knew about stress, adaptation, and the biology of aging. And if you've ever wondered why your morning cold plunge feels like it's doing something profound at a cellular level, you were right. You just didn't know the full story until now. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel is where we take the most cutting-edge research in health optimization and biohacking and make it actually usable in your real life. Today we're going deep on one of the most exciting and underappreciated mechanisms in all of longevity science, mitohormesis, specifically how deliberately stressing your mitochondria through controlled cold exposure triggers a cascade of repair signals that can slow biological aging, sharpen your metabolism, and even recalibrate your immune system. This isn't theory. This is biochemistry happening inside your cells right now. Or it could be, if you give your body the right signal. Let's start at the foundation. Hormesis is the biological principle that a low dose of a stressor produces a beneficial adaptive response while a high dose causes harm. It's an important evolutionary and physiological concept encompassing stress countermeasures, low dose stimulation resulting in beneficial effects, and high dose inhibition producing adverse effects, involving well-preserved mechanistic actions and biological plasticity responses. Think of it like lifting weights. A set of heavy squats tears muscle fibers, but in a controlled, recoverable way. Your body responds by rebuilding stronger. Go too heavy, too often, with no recovery, and you break down. The dose is everything. Now apply that same logic to your mitochondria, and you have mitohormesis, and it is, without exaggeration, one of the most powerful levers for cellular health that modern science has identified. Mitochondria contribute to stress adaptation through mechanisms including induction of the mitochondrial unfolded protein response and the integrated stress response. These responses are essential for managing mitochondrial proteostasis and restoring cellular function, with each being tailored to specific stressors and cellular environments. In plain language, when your mitochondria are briefly pushed to their limits, they don't just recover, they send out chemical distress signals that activate repair systems, antioxidant defenses, and quality control networks across your entire body. While excessive stress can lead to maladaptive responses, mitohormesis refers to the beneficial effects of low-level mitochondrial stress. Initially studied in invertebrates and cell cultures, recent research has expanded to mammalian models of mitohormesis. And the stressor that is generating the most scientific attention right now, cold, specifically brief cold immersion. Here's what happens the moment you step into cold water. Your skin temperature drops rapidly, your nervous system fires an emergency signal, and your mitochondria are immediately challenged. This biphasic dose response is induced by acute or moderately stressful stimuli such as temperature and exercise. The induction of this type of stress can yield positive systemic effects, including improved immunological or nervous system responses, and the enhancement of coping mechanisms. But here's where it gets fascinating at the molecular level. Low-level oxidative stress induces an adaptive response commonly defined as hormesis. This type of stress is often related to reactive oxygen species originating from the mitochondrial respiratory chain. The accumulation of transient low doses of ROS, either through chronic physical activity or caloric restriction, influences signaling from the mitochondrial compartment to the cell, reduces glucose metabolism, induces mitochondrial metabolism, increases stress resistance, and ultimately increases lifespan. Cold immersion generates that same controlled reactive oxygen species signal, the cellular equivalent of a fire drill. The alarm goes off, the systems mobilize, and when the drill is over, the whole building is better prepared for the real thing. Now let's talk about what that preparation actually looks like in your body. One of the most exciting downstream effects of cold-induced mitohormesis is what happens to your brown adipose tissue, what biohackers call BAT, or brown fat. Unlike the white fat that stores energy, brown fat burns it to generate heat. The mitochondrial-derived peptide MOTS-c efficiently promotes cold adaptation. Following cold exposure, the improvement of adipose non-shivering thermogenesis facilitates cold adaptation. MOTS-c is a newly identified peptide secreted by mitochondria. This is a peptide your own mitochondria produce in response to cold stress, and it doesn't just keep you warm. MOTS-c treatment enhanced cold tolerance and reduced lipid trafficking to the liver. In addition, MOTS-c dramatically upregulated brown adipose tissue thermogenic gene expression and increased white fat browning. White fat browning, The conversion of metabolically sluggish fat tissue into metabolically active mitochondria-dense tissue is one of the most sought-after outcomes in metabolic health research, and brief cold exposure appears to trigger it through this very mitohormetic pathway. But the effects don't stop at metabolism. It is also believed that when one recovery mechanism is induced by stress, other repair and recovery systems have improved function. This is the cascading nature of hormetic adaptation. You pull one lever and an entire panel of biological upgrades activates. Mitohormetic agents induce reversible mitochondrial stress, triggering adaptive responses that enhance function. Recent research published in January 2026 has taken this concept even further, framing it within the lens of healthy aging. The central argument is that strategically leveraging mitochondrial stress through tools like cold, fasting, or exercise isn't just about performance today. It's about preserving the quality and function of every cell in your body as you age. Short-term exposure led to increased mitochondrial efficiency and energy homeostasis, while long-term exposure induced adaptive metabolic reprogramming with higher inosine levels, suggesting enhanced antioxidant and anti-inflammatory responses. No adverse effects on systemic or hepatic health markers were observed. Hormetic exposure elicits a hormetic response, enhancing metabolic efficiency and resilience to oxidative stress. So how do you actually apply this? Let's get practical. The research consistently points to a few key principles. First, brevity matters more than intensity. You don't need a glacier. Water between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 10 to 15 Celsius, is sufficient to initiate the mitohormetic response. 2 to 4 minutes of immersion 3 to 5 times per week appears to be the sweet spot that most studies cluster around. Second, the timing of your cold exposure relative to exercise matters significantly. If you're training for strength or muscle gain, avoid cold immersion immediately after resistance training, as this can blunt the anabolic signaling you just earned in the gym. Instead, use cold exposure on rest days or more than 4 hours post-training. Third, and this is critical, the shivering itself is part of the medicine. This adaptive trajectory mirrors a broader principle in biology known as hormesis, the idea that low doses of stress can provoke a beneficial response by challenging the system to grow stronger. Repeated cold exposure appeared to recalibrate the muscle's quality control networks, nudging cells toward repair and renewal instead of damage and decline. When you suppress shivering by over-acclimating or by using water that isn't cold enough, you lose some of the deeper cellular signaling that makes this practice so powerful. The final piece of the puzzle is the one most people completely overlook, the recovery window. Mitohormesis isn't just about the stressor, it's about what happens in the hours after the stressor when your body is quietly rebuilding. This is when your cells are upregulating antioxidant enzymes, clearing damaged mitochondrial proteins, and increasing mitochondrial biogenesis, the literal creation of new mitochondria. Sabotage this window with high-dose antioxidant supplements, alcohol, poor sleep, or chronic caloric restriction, and you short-circuit the entire adaptive cascade. The stress was the investment, the recovery is where the returns are earned. Sleep, protein, and allowing raw signaling to run its course for several hours post-exposure are non-negotiables if you want the full mitohormetic benefit. Here's the bottom line. These investigations reveal the potential for targeting mitohormesis for therapeutic benefit and can transform the treatment of diseases commonly associated with mitochondrial stress in humans. We are in the early innings of understanding just how far this mechanism extends, from metabolic disease to neurodegeneration to the pace of biological aging itself. But what's already clear is this: the cells that survive a brief, controlled assault come back harder, more resilient, and biologically younger than the ones that were never challenged at all. Your mitochondria are not fragile, they are waiting to be trained. If you want the complete breakdown, including the exact cold protocol I use personally, the specific timing windows for maximum mitohormetic effect, the supplement stack that supports rather than suppresses the adaptive response, and a printable weekly schedule, I put everything together in this week's newsletter. Go right now to thevitalityscoop.com/newsletter and sign up. It's free, it goes deep, and it might be the most actionable thing you read all week. Drop a comment below telling me whether you're already doing cold exposure or if you're just getting started. I read every single one. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.